Ha ha ha. Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. Wee Willy Wonka, everybody give a cheer. He's one the children want to meet. He is the one that can't be beat. Willy Wonka, here he is. You're really weird. Let's boogie. I'm John Renton with the retro review of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from 2005, directed by Tim Burton. Not that you'd be able to tell, because Tim Burton was ever so subtle about putting every single goddamn earmark of his particular filmmaking style all over this goddamn movie. All up in your face and all over the place. The winter scenes made me think that Batman was going to pop up, or the Penguin, or Catwoman, or Christopher Walken with his glorious Dr. Wily-style hair. That's a retro review I should do at some point. Batman Returns. But nevertheless, yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out nearly 20 years ago, and in preparation for Wonka coming out this weekend, I decided to retro review the first Willy Wonka movie, and you could check out that lengthy review. And now I decided to watch this, and you know, I was working at the theater in town when this came out, and I remember quoting some of it, especially with a couple friends of mine. One friend of mine, Bob, that I knew since high school, and he is doing quite well for himself, and I'm very, very happy to see that. But upon reflection, you know, this movie isn't great. In fact, it's kind of bad at some points, because while it follows the darker path of the particular book by Roald Dahl, who actually hated the first movie, apparently, and I don't know what he thought of this one because he died 15 years before it came out. It was written by John August, not Augustus, who did that movie Go. Remember that weird, dark comedy drama that really went nowhere? It couldn't go anywhere, ha ha ha, ironically. He did that. He also did Titan A.E., Charlie's Angels in 2000, and Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, I think that was the title, in 2003. Big Fish in a Small Pond, Corpse Bride, Dark Shadows, Frankenweenie, and Aladdin. So I'm starting to think that John August and Tim Burton might have been in lockstep a little bit, given a couple of those films. Yeah, the fact that he did the 2019 Aladdin actually does explain a lot about this. Now, granted, I like Titan A.E. a lot. I'm not saying it was the most well-written film ever, but it is a very underrated animated movie. So you have Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. And you know, after the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial coverage that was never ending, and I don't really care about taking sides in this, nobody came out of that looking good. Nobody. At all. He plays Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. You have Freddie Highmore, who plays Charlie, and they reunited after being in Finding Neverland, and actually Johnny Depp was so impressed by Freddie Highmore's performance, he recommended him to Tim Burton for the role of Charlie. And you know what? In all honesty, Freddie did a pretty good job here. You also have David Kelly, who was Grandpa Joe, who looked to be about 250 million years old here. Helena Bonham Carter in a Tim Burton movie. I know, crazy. Noah Tyler, Missy Pyle. Christopher Lee was Willie's dad. Christopher Lee was always 60 years old. I'm just certain he came out of the womb looking 65 years old. Deep Roy was the Oompa Loompa, and apparently had to do separate shots for every single performance, and then they were superimposed. And because of his extra work, his salary was increased to $1 million, which still feels like they undercut him a little bit given the budget. But you know what? At least he got $1 million for doing all that extra work. Julia Winter, who was Veruca Salt, again, not the band, as I referenced in my previous review of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Julia Winter apparently has only been in one other film. I assume she's doing stage acting or something, because she wasn't that bad in this for a child actress. Speaking of child actresses, Anna Sophia Robb was in this. She was in a lot of stuff in the mid to late 2000s, including Race to Witch Mountain and various other movies, including Bridge to Terabithia. That's something I will retro review at some point. So, if you've seen the 71 version, congratulations. You get to see this, but with Tim Burton's vision. Vision for bad CGI. The CGI has aged like milk. There are some moments that aren't all that bad. This is 15 minutes longer than the original and feels about 35 to 40 minutes longer. That's not a compliment. $150 million budget, $235.8 million in today's money. Why not go with the inflation calculator, since we're coming up on 20 years since this has come out. $56.1 million opening, which is pretty good. I mean, a third of the budget, but $88.2 million in today's money. $206.4 million for the U.S. and Canada gross, and that's $325 million in today's money, roughly, and then 475 thereabouts for a worldwide gross, and that was almost $750 million in today's money. So there you go. So Depp apparently has said in interviews he based his performance on what George W. Bush would be like if he was high. I mean, that kind of makes sense, I guess. Sort of. You know, his performance at times was pretty good, and then other times it felt like he was trying too hard. So, yeah, the early 2000s CGI that I will harp on a little bit during this was not very good. Every Burton movie just has this dark, bleak look about it, and look, he has a great style for filmmaking. Sleepy Hollow was a good example of him at the peak of his powers. And then you have Batman Returns, you have other stuff. He did not direct A Nightmare Before Christmas. That was Henry Selick, by the way. But Tim Burton had the vision and the everything so to make that work. But Henry Selick deserves a shout as well. I got to be perfectly honest. So, like, the heaped on backstory of his dad and why he came to be. There's nothing wrong with doing a backstory. But this just, again, felt forced. It felt very, very forced. We find out about, Grandpa Joe used to work at the factory, and then Willie built a palace of chocolate in India for a prince, and then it melted. And then other people stole his secrets. Slugworth gets completely dismissed. At least they learned, unlike the first one, that maybe this creepy bald guy with a scar on his cheek talking to these children in full view of their parents and on television cameras, probably not exactly the best look. And I half expected Batman to pop up during the winter scenes, as I noted. And from there, we get the typical stuff of, Anna Sophia Robb as Violet, she's been good for years. I mean, she was good as a child actress. She's grown, done great since. And it's still hard to believe that she's 30. That just doesn't compute with me. Like, so when I see her in any current project, it just doesn't compute with me that she's not this girl that was in all these movies, in the late 2000s. I don't know why. There are just some actors, like, and actresses, like Dakota Fanning. I see her in Equalizer 3, and I go, what? Like, I don't know why. But anyway, Mike TV, a video gamer, he's doing all that and everything. That does not look like a joystick at all. I don't know why I did that motion. So Charlie's dad gets fired from a toothpaste factory because of automated toothpaste, Skynet becoming self-aware and all that. And Charlie finds some money in a snow pile, buys a candy bar, and then he runs home. The candy shop owner is not letting children behind his counter like a creepy guy like this time. And then they all get invited. Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. And then Willy shows up and got goggles, the hat, and everything and all that. And I don't mind Burton trying to take this in a new direction. The problem is he didn't take it in a new good direction. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's definitely not great. Like, the first one has aged a whole lot better than this. And that's saying something. That takes a special kind of talent. So, good morning, Starshine. Yours says hello. And he's reading off of cue cards and everything because why not? I mean, I shouldn't say anything reading off of notes here, but, it was a running gag in the whole thing because he wasn't very good with, being a people person. He has this preponderance of the backstory of his dad being a dentist, not wanting him to eat candy. And then he went off and became a chocolatier. We find this out throughout the whole movie. I'm Beauregard. I don't care. I will say there are some funny lines from Depp, but he is no Gene Wilder. He's no Gene Wilder in this. And Depp, at the peak of his powers, is a really good actor. Messed up in the head and probably let power go to his goddamn head and got an ego and everything, but in all honesty, pretty damn good actor. The sets do not feel organic. They feel very CGI, very green screen and whatever. And I don't expect them to build a ton of stuff like they did in the other one because I know as the cost of things have gone up in the last 30-something years since the first one came out before this, I get that you want to take it easy. You want to have some cost-cutting measures, but you got to make shit look better. And anytime the CGI popped up, I mean, even back then, granted, CGI at that point was still not in its infancy, but just wasn't refined. It just wasn't fine. It just wasn't tweaked. And then, the backstory stuff doesn't work. Everything in this place is eatable. Even I'm eatable, but that's called cannibalism, and it's frowned upon in most societies. Again, I did note that Deep Roy, at least he got his salary increase, which the little guy deserved or whatever. And I mean, hey, at least his career can reach new heights. Sorry. I'm so sorry. And, yeah, the jungle scene with the Oompa Loompas smashing up caterpillars and living away from all these creatures. He makes a deal with the Oompa Loompas to bring them all to his factory to make stuff, and also to get them out of squalor, so to speak. And then Augustus falls in the whole thing, buying chocolate, and oh no, the Germans have been found out. The parents are going to be all upset, and oh, Viva in Austria. Sorry, I'm so sorry. God, you would have thought I would have left those jokes back there, but yeah, he will be. It will be Germains of the day and everything. He'll be ground into the best chocolate for the glory of the anyway. CGI again, total dog shit. The candy, the candy doesn't even look all that great. In all honesty, apparently Nestle made 1,800 bars or thereabouts, real bars for the movie. And that makes sense, okay, so that's probably where some of the cost came. The comedy doesn't really hit. None of the Oompa Loompa songs are very good. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mind modernizing some music, but yeah, I don't necessarily know where they were going with that. Songs for Augustus Gloop, Violet Beauregard, Veruca Salt, all that, just no. And the mic, no. None of it worked. None of it worked at all. The many flashbacks, if they had cut down on the goddamn flashbacks, we probably could have saved a little bit. They could have, honest to God, cut a few things that were just repeating what we saw in the first movie, and it would have been just totally fine. Christopher Lee is a dentist. I would like to know why Christopher Lee was so good at playing creepy people. Apparently when he was a really nice guy. I say was because I assume he has been dead for years. I mean, he looked like he was on death's door in Attack of the Clones. That's mean. Christopher Lee's a great actor. Was a great actor. So great. No wonder he played a vampire. He probably was born in the 1600s. The full 3-course meal and Violet turning into a blueberry and Anna Sophia Robb, becoming a juice-filled individual. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I mean, just nuts. What the hell's going on here? And you're really weird. Let's boogie. And it doesn't feel natural in this. Yes, there was ridiculous of, and I'm not even saying compared to the book that the 1971 version didn't take it in a whole different direction, make it more whimsical. It was whimsical and dark. This just felt like a series of set pieces with some bad comedy, and that just unfortunately is where this movie has aged really, really badly. So there are squirrels checking for bad nuts. The squirrels jump on Julia Winter's Veruca Salt. They hated Volcano Girls, apparently. Har har. And then she's put down the garbage chute. The dad has to go get her. There's big cotton candy sheep. There's a puppet burn center and everything. All puppets deserve to be burned, by the way, because all puppets are inherently evil. Horror movies have taught me that. And Mike basically causes flashbacks while they're going through the Wonka Vader and all these fireworks and Target. All this weird shit's going on that makes absolutely no sense. They took out fizzy lifting drinks, or at least took out that main part. And then we get clips from 2001 and the Wonka bar becoming the obelisk and all that. That's another one I should retro-review at some point. 2001, considering that that movie is over 55 years old right now. And everyone's gone except for Charlie. Willie wants to give him the deal, but he has to leave his family behind because Willie doesn't understand why he would want to be around his family. It's nothing against his family. It's just Charlie will not abandon his family. Oh, okay. But then he's losing his magic touch. The candy isn't tasting as good, isn't selling as good, because he's not in a great mood. He goes to get Charlie. Charlie helps him reunite with his dad. And then they have the family together in the house, in the factory. They're all living together, and Charlie has a family. None of the songs are very good. I just want to say that. I think particularly the actually, no, you know what? All the Oompa Loompa songs are pretty goddamn shit. I mean, they just don't pop. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Wonka. I hope it's a little bit somewhere in the middle of both of these movies, because I don't need it to be a carbon copy of the 71 version. I damn sure don't need it to be this. So yeah, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.